As the market
Steve
changes
Leishman,
its mind about what
CNBC.
the Fed may do
Can you
next.
talk about how you factor in the variable lags on inflation and the extent to which the outlook for rates should be seen as linear in the sense that you keep raising rates, or can you envision a time when there's a pause to kind of look at what has been wrought in the economy?
Hello, happy Monday, and I'm Chris Crystal with Finance Stockholm. We've got a little bit of trouble and turbulent seas here in the market. We did get a little bit of good news, but so far the market isn't looking at it as good on Friday, and that was that Great Britain, with the new Prime Minister, Truss, has decided to cut taxes. And while the pound will drop on this, I think a lot of the fears are overwrought, because if you look at the United States as a comparative economy, although there used to be more production in the United States, and there's maybe a trend to bring some of it back, you do see that when you cut taxes, you cut regulation, you actually increase your tax revenues as a government. So many would look at it as, oh, how would the government be able to survive? But due to the fact that you make it cheaper by lowering the cost on the tax, you can actually increase your tax revenue. And that's called Hauser's law. And if you look back in the United States, every time you've had a tax cut, you've seen accelerated economy. So Donald Trump, the former president, would be a great example of that. If you look at before Donald Trump, you could go back to, say, George Bush or Bill Clinton, and then you could go back to Ronald Reagan, and before Reagan, you would have John F. Kennedy. We can go further, but I think if you just look at those periods of time in the economy and for the United States and GDP growth, you see how this plays out. So Great Britain looks to revitalize their economy by getting people to start working more, and by lowering the taxes, they may be actually able to do this. On top of that, in Europe, we look like we'll see more shift. We can go into that in a minute, but in Sweden, you have the first electrical bill coming in for many people from August, and you're seeing people who were paying something like 200 crowns now paying well over 800 crowns for their monthly electricity usage, or people who were paying something like 700 crowns or 800 crowns paying over 4,000 Swedish crowns. And this coming month, we may see even higher, and the rates show no sign in really decreasing. You would see people paying effectively their home mortgage cost also, as well as or equally large or larger electricity bill. And what that does not bode well for the Swedish economy. I do think we'll see more profit warnings. We saw Intrum Justicia this morning, one of our largest collector kind of agency companies, coming out with a profit warning, and they were citing August. I think many of the companies will also be doing so, where they come forward and talk about August and then forthcoming costs of electricity to profit warn. The Swedish crown has been dropping against the dollar, and that will likely continue. So this is a very bad sign for the Swedish economy without having a real plan. And as for a real plan, we still don't see a fully formed government yet. We see government spokespeople being selected, and other people being, looked at as candidates for other positions. But the second largest party still doesn't have any real representation in the government. And so whether they use this as kind of a wild card to do whatever they like within the government, whether they want to go with the left side or the right side, they'll have a free rein. And so there's no real clear sign that the coming Swedish government will function or be able to function well. Because they're still excluding, but kind of want to hold on to them, the far right, and yet at the same time, they're not including them in any real discussions. So that doesn't really bode well for the Swedish economy. And you do see a reflection of this throughout Europe. We already mentioned what happened in the UK, but then again, hey, they're not part of the EU anymore, right? Despite Macron saying he wants to bring them back in. So in Italy, you have what looks like the far right party coming in and winning the election. The EU commissioner, Ursula von der Leyen, did not endear herself to the Italian people on Friday, talking about solutions to handle if this party wins. which drove a lot of Italian voters out to replace EU flags with Italian flags and talk about the EU not interfering with their sovereign democratic process. So I think what this really highlights is that as the increasing energy cost and electrical cost throughout Europe deepen or worsen, we will see more unrest. And that is not good for the economy, nor is it good for the future of the EU. And this could be, again, another pull on a thread to unraveling what's been going on with the EU. Now, if Italy would leave the EU, I guess economically that could be good because we wouldn't have to bail them out again. But then again, if they get their corruption under control and start functioning where they use one set of books instead of two sets of books, then, well, who knows? But to further complicate this, Russia and Ukraine are still very far away from any sort of peace talks. Ukraine wants to see a full pullout of Russia and reunification of the previously lost territories. So we don't see any sort of peace talks coming. We did see the Putin comments about 300 reservists being forced to the front lines. We don't know how many of them would defect or be killed, or how long the Russian people will tolerate this. So if Putin is removed from the picture, maybe then we would have some sort of peace talks and resumption of normal policy and normal gas, electricity prices. And so we continue to watch all of this, but still see no real sign for any positive signs in the market. And the market looks to be stay away and maybe wait till May, even though it's September. So we'll see what happens. But that's it from today, and that's kind of the short view on Sweden. And I want to wish you a great day and good luck. Thank you very much. Bye.